involved in a lawsuit in Iowa recently, which we won, where the sheriff denied a pistol license to a guy because he didn't like his politics. And he said that. He said, I don't like the guy's politics, so I'm denying his license.
May issue law means that local sheriffs can use personal knowledge or discretion in determining who they actually issue permits to.
Prior to 1989, sheriffs had total discretion to issue or not issue, and many of them just refused to issue. Multnomah County had something like 19 pistol permits, and in Multnomah County you got a pistol permit basically because you were very friendly with a cop. That's how it worked. And then the law changed in 1989 to transition it to a situation where if you met the qualifications, the permit had to be issued.
If you talk to any sheriff in Oregon, I've talked to most of them, they will all tell you stories about people that they've been forced to give permits to who they know shouldn't have them. You can be severely mentally ill, on medication, you can be a paranoid schizophrenic and get a concealed handgun license as long as you've never been committed or sent to prison.
The process requires that you go to your county sheriff, assuming you're an Oregon resident. There is another process for people who live in adjoining states, but you go to your county sheriff and you fill out an application, you're photographed and you're fingerprinted, and then the law requires that if you qualify, the license is issued within 45 days. Sometimes it's not, and if it's not, the only recourse you have is that you can now sue the sheriff. In the last couple of years, sheriffs have become a lot better about handling these things. There are still a lot of sheriffs who don't like to issue them, but they're required to. There's one sheriff in the state who was very eager to issue licenses and wanted to issue them without charging, except he's not allowed to. The statute won't permit that. So there's a pretty wide spectrum of philosophies and beliefs amongst the sheriffs.
If you start making things subjective, that's when you get, I guess, an undesirable result where you're picking and choosing, people you don't like, for instance, being rejected, or people that you, as a sheriff, do like, and maybe stretching things a little bit for them. And I don't think that you want to do that.
I'd like to see the sheriffs have more discretion like they used to. Because sheriffs are elected in their counties. They're the ones who know their counties the best. They know who the marginal people are. I mean, not all of them, but it would be far more protective of the public to have the sheriff be able to say, no, you may not have a criminal record, but I know that you're not responsible enough to have this gun. I'd like the sheriffs to have that authority to say no and have it upheld.
The processes work very well, except that it still assumes that you have to ask permission from the state to exercise what we consider to be a fundamental right. What more fundamental a right can you have than the right to protect yourself and those around you? And you shouldn't have to ask the state for permission, nor should you have to pay the state, nor should any sheriff have the ability to deny you the right to carry a firearm to protect yourself.
When Oregon became a shall issue state, our concerns were that these sheriffs do oftentimes know more about people, especially in the smaller communities. You kind of know your neighbor, you know who people are, and so you can use, sheriffs are elected people, so if people aren't happy with the decisions the sheriff's making, they can not re-elect them. So now sheriffs are forced to give weapons to people who they might know have a questionable history, lifestyle, behaviors, and they don't have the option of making that distinction. Also, some of those people are in this background check loophole that I talked about. They have been committed into state agencies, but their name's not yet put into this other database, the NICS database. So there's that lack of crossover, and so those are the people that could also potentially slip through the cracks. Sheriffs are issuing permits to people who have been convicted of crimes, but because their data hasn't transferred into this other database, there's a gap there.